sharing with you in this video how to detach from a problem and find the solution as a result. I really believe that unless we can detach from the problems in our life, we're not going to be able to have the space to find the solution because we lose ourselves in the problem. Therefore, we cannot separate ourselves from it. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to separate yourself from the problem so that again, you don't lose yourself in it and have the capacity, actually have the awareness and the consciousness to allow that solution to come to you. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is to understand that you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that caused it. So if there's a problem that is arising in your life and there's maybe a certain state of consciousness that caused this problem, that same state of consciousness, you're not going to be able to solve the problem from that same state. It's not going to work. You have to separate yourself. So what is required in this moment? What do you really need? What you need is consciousness, presence, space. You need more spaciousness. You need more capacity. Whatever word works for you, whatever word floats your boat, you need to take a step back from the chaos. Find more order in your life. Find more structure in your life. Find more discipline, more peace. Come back to your center, because if you're not in your center, if you're too lost in the problem, if you can't see who you really are and find that you are greater than the problem in your life and you lose yourself in the problem, that's when you're not going to ever be able to find a solution. Because the only way for there to be a possibility of any kind of solution coming into your mind is if you do this. You cannot find solutions through more effort, through more force, and through more logic. You can do more research to help you find the solution possibly, but the solution will come as an insight. Maybe you copied it from somebody else. Maybe you found that somebody else had the solution, but the first person to ever have a solution, it came as an insight. It came as a realization. It just comes through when you give yourself the space to allow for it to happen. And so the second thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to actually do this is to value your state of consciousness more than you care about solving the problem. And what will happen is that you will find the solution naturally. The solution will come to you. So if you care essentially more about your state of consciousness, more about your state of peace, than you care about quote unquote finding the solution to the problem, what you'll find is that you have that intelligence within you to naturally find the solution. There's no force needed. This is why the best ideas come maybe when you're showering, or you're just kind of doing nothing and just relaxing, or maybe you're just drifting off to sleep. It's like when you're just drifting off to sleep, you're just about to fall asleep, right? Like you're about to literally go to sleep, and then out of nowhere, it's like the best idea ever comes to you. And it's like, why is it that in that moment, the best idea comes? Like the whole day, maybe you're like trying to find this idea, trying to figure out, oh, like, how do I solve this problem? How do I solve this situation in my life? Like, it's like, how do I solve this problem? And then you're sleeping, and then there's the idea. Like, why does this happen? This happens because you're in a certain state of consciousness where you're not forcing a solution, and you started to, usually when you're sleeping, you're in that sort of state where you just care about how you feel. You care about how you feel. But ultimately, you don't care about the problems in life anymore. At that point, you just need sleep. It's like at some point, after all the chaos and the resistance and like everything that's happening in the day and like all these things, it's like, wait, you just need sleep. Your body just needs sleep. And then so that's when the ideas usually come. That's the funny part about it, is that in those moments is usually when all the ideas start to flow. All the things that you need come to you. So if you start to value your state, remember that a good value to have is your state of consciousness. Try it. Try to care about your state of consciousness more than the results that you're getting in your life. And if you just test it, I'm not responsible for your decisions, but my invitation is to test it. And my claim is that if you test it, what you'll find is that the solutions in your life become very easy to solve. They become very easy to find. Very easy to find the solutions, and the problems in your life become very easy to solve. And so the final thing that I want to share with you in this video is really to become greater than the problems in your life, to rise above the problems in your life. Because let's just cut to the chase. Like, problems are going to happen. Right? You're going to have problems. You're going to have resistance. You're going to feel off sometimes. You're going to feel like things are not necessarily how exactly you want them. You might feel concerned. You might have reason to be very worried and paranoid. And so the thing that I want to make very clear is that no matter what situation happens in your life, no matter what problem happens in your life, no matter what happens in your life circumstance, what I invite and encourage every single person is to be greater than the problem. So you need to be greater than the problem. Because if the problem becomes greater than you, essentially what that means, in a different way of saying the same thing as earlier, is you lose yourself in the problem. You lose your true self in the problem. You identify with the problem. Your state of consciousness gets sort of wrapped up in the problem. There's no separation between who you really are and then the problem that's happening. Your whole identity becomes the problem. Like, you become a victim. It's not that you are observing yourself experiencing a victim tendency. You become the victim. You are now a victim. You're no longer noticing a pattern coming up that you're working through to be a better person. You become the issue, and you believe that there's no possibility of a solution anymore. That's when the ego gets so attached to the past that the problem becomes its identity. The identity becomes part of the whole ego structure. The identity becomes a part of the problem. The whole ego structure becomes a part of the problem. And now what happens is that there's no detachment. So if you really want to detach from a problem, become greater than the problem, be who you really are. Don't let the problem suck you in and hypnotize you to its deception. Right? You don't want to be hypnotized. You don't want to be concerned. You don't want to be worried. You want to be the person that you really are. Be that conscious, observing, witnessing presence prior to thought, prior to emotion. And don't let your emotions really be so compelling. Don't invest so much in your negativity and your limiting beliefs. Don't put so much investment into these things. Care about how you actually feel for once. And what you'll find is that you really just stop attaching to the problems in your life, and those solutions come very naturally. You start to naturally find the solutions in your life. You start to naturally shift your identity. You start to naturally align with your intentions, because you simply see that it's so much easier, so much more effortless to be who you want to be. And really, self-sabotaging is the harder path. It is the harder path. Like, if you want to self-sabotage, go back to the old way, be who you used to be, stop progressing, that's going to be more difficult than if you just level up and change. Leveling up is easier. Any pain that comes from leveling up is, ultimately speaking, going to be easier than any pain that comes from staying the same and who you don't want to be, who you don't prefer